Welcome to Action Reloaded, Clayne. Awesome to have you here, man. Before we talk about the integrity of Joseph Chambers, first of all, I'd like to know what got you into the world of acting.
Um, I was when I was in high school, I was in a speech and debate class. I thought I would practice law, and my debate teacher, she was kind of explaining to the class that there's going to be times that you don't necessarily believe in the topic, maybe morally, in what you're trying to defend. And she goes, "You're going to kind of have to be an actor, sometimes." And as a result, she goes, "We're going to do improv today." I didn't know, and of course I'm in the back of the class and with my buddies, and she goes, "Let's go, Crawford, you and this guy, my buddy Brent Key." She goes, "Get up here," and she had us do improvisation, and I was mortified, that I was going to be in front of my classmates doing some kind of, I was an athlete and thought I was awesome. So getting out there and being an actor was just, not something I was stoked about. And it turned out for the first time in my 18 years, I thought I knew what I would wanted to do with my life. And it seemed like I remember telling my parents, it was like I was telling them I was going to be an astronaut. They're like, "What the fuck is that? You're going to do what? You're going to move to LA? Is that what you're going to do, you idiot?" I was ready to get out of my small town. So I jumped in my truck at 18, man, and I drove until I hit water, and that was LA. And I worked construction, and I still wasn't sure what being an actor meant. And a girl who I had a crush on was doing a play, and one of the actors had fallen out, and he was only in like two or three scenes, and it was the mechanic was his only name, right? And it was a quite literal title, and but there wasn't a lot to the character, so I said, "Okay, let's I'll give it a shot." And buddy, I went up to that little theater in Sun Valley, which is like 45 minutes outside of LA, with a director that got drunk on natural light and passed out every night. And I was in heaven. And from that point on, I went and found, an agent, and that was it, man. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was my first acting job when I was 18, 19 years old in 1997.
You couldn't beat that. Your first acting role was Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's a score.
It was, but man, you want to talk about this dumb kid from Alabama who's never had an acting class in his life. And I mean, my heart's pounding out of my chest. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? And it was interesting, man. So it's been a fun ride for sure.
Your early credits did include like Buffy, but then you went on to do Justified, some NCIS, and some 24. They all seem action related. Was the action always sort of your go-to genre?
No, I had a family at an early age, right? So I had kids and bills, and it was a lot of times just trying to find a gig, because I'd been pursuing acting. I had no real skill set as it relates to a trade. Um, and I think I just was a great bad guy. I was easy to hate. And so yeah, my dad used to laugh, I've died on every CBS show there is, right? So
One of the things I found phenomenal was I remember when the Lethal Weapon pilot was coming on. I was like, oh, shit, man, this dude is gonna be filling Riggs's boots, man. And I was like, them is Gibson sized boots. They're hard to fill, and you done like a phenomenal job at it. What was it like taking up the role of Riggs? Was it nerve-wracking for you?
oh, mate, when they first called, and I was finishing up my last season of Rectify, and for the first time was, financially stable and creatively felt really confident and wasn't really looking for anything. I was living with my family on a farm, and we were just super happy. And my agents called and they said the words lethal weapon and Fox in the same sentence. I hung up the phone, and then they kept calling and calling, and I was super nervous, man. I was a huge fan of Gibson and what Donner and Shane Black created, and I just didn't want to muck it up. But we jumped in head first, and fortunately enough, it turned out.
Well, you didn't muck it up at all. Fuck, it was brilliant, man.
Cheers.
So many great action sequences, and it actually looked like you got to perform the majority of your own fight scenes and stunts.
Yeah, I just felt like, that's why we love Born Identity and Bond, right? Especially the new ones with Daniel Craig, was because those dudes were doing it. So, I tried to just every day work with my stunt team, and I was like, my goal is to make it to where you guys are never on camera. I just want you to teach me and educate me so that I can kind of learn how to safely throw my body into these moments and allow the audience to stay engaged for as long as humanly possible.
Would you say, to a degree, that the Lethal Weapon seasons you were in sort of helped spur your career on to where you're at now?
You know what it did? It gave me confidence to where I'm like, I'm going to go make my own films. I'm going to take the money that I've made through this great opportunity, and I'm going to go create more opportunities, and also give opportunities to those who I thought needed a chance in the industry, whether it be directors or writers. So yeah, without a doubt, Rectify gave me a true education in acting. And then again, Lethal really gave me the confidence that I can do this and that I need to trust my instincts.
And now your latest movie, The Integrity of Joseph Chambers, it's completely different, I think, to anything you've done because the role is so isolated. Would that be something that attracted you to the script?
Yeah, what attracted me to the script was just kind of a guy who had grown up understanding what the definition of a man was for so long, and then he moves to a new community, a small rural community, and he realizes that it means something completely different there, and that maybe he's not a man, and that he doesn't have the skill set to provide for a family when he thought that he did. That was super exciting. The isolation of it was in some ways comfort. I like the challenge. I was like, can I keep an audience's attention for that long by myself? I think we all kind of are curious about that, especially after, you watch Tom Hanks and Castaway, and how incredible he is, and I think as an actor, you're always curious, can you carry that by yourself? So I kind of met that challenge head on, and was grateful for the opportunity.
I found it was a very powerful movie, and then you gave such a strong performance. And as I was watching, watching the minutes go by, I was thinking, did this take a lot out of you? Because it looked like it would have completely destroyed you. Because you go from sort of a downtrodden guy who wants to prove himself, but then once you're out there, shit just goes downhill even further. And it just looked like it was a whole emotional ride for you.
Yeah, because my wife and I produced this film, we were so busy making sure that, everyone was fed and planes were getting in on time and actors were getting to set and all of that kind of stuff, that it didn't hit you until after. But look, just the running and dragging Michael Raymond. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, there was a lot of physicality in this film, and it certainly wore me out. Yeah, but in a good way. You know what I mean?
And what was it like shooting in them woods? Because it looked freezing.
It was not warm. It was definitely in the middle of December, and but hey, it was. I grew up in this part of the country, so for me, it kind of felt like home, So I felt like a 12-year-old boy again, which I kind of is where Joe was at in the story.
And also, Jordana Brewster's in it as your wife. What was it like reuniting with her?
Just a joy. We had such a wonderful time on Lethal Weapon, her playing the therapist, and we were always just her and I trapped in a room together, in her office on set. So to get the opportunity to kind of play in one another's sandbox again, as it was just a great joy. And the same with Jeff. I was able to meet him through his wonderful, lovely wife Hillary Burton, who we also did Lethal Weapon together. So having those guys come to set was incredible.
It was such an amazing movie. And it's see the poster for it, as you can see. Wait, if I go this way,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you'd think it's like a full out. You think there's a bit of action. Like I was waiting for people to jump out at you in the woods or something. But damn, it's such a film that has you emotionally invested. Would it be like, ah, shit, I can't even think of it, but it'd be something like you would, as you said, see Tom Hanks in.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a quiet piece, you know, and it's observational. But hopefully because, you know, along with the sound design and the way it's shot, and just these great performances by these guys that came in and helped, it's all immersive, you know, and I hope it gives just a feeling of what Joe was truly going through.
That's another thing that helps the sound effects. Just hearing the birds in the background, it's quite unnerving, to be honest.
Our sound guy Peter Albrechtsen, man, he comes in, the composer, and he is just so talented. And you know, he actually found a guy who his whole life has been recording animal sounds all over the planet. Animals dying, animals in struggle, animals mating, animals in the morning, animals at night. And the catalog that this individual had allowed us to really fill out that world in a way to where you truly felt like you're in the forest. And then kind of with the woodpecker, using it almost as like a transition, you know, like beat changes, like when he's
Yeah.
in the deer stand, just really exciting.